overnight, President Trump's sweeping legislative agenda made a big step forward. Republican leaders in the House spent the weekend really scrambling to get the tax and spending cuts bill back on track after hardline Republicans, you'll remember, dealt them an embarrassing setback late last week. And after clearing the House Budget Committee then late last night, House leaders are still hoping to bring this to a floor vote on Thursday and hopefully they hope to get it to the president soon enough, because it would be a big win. But you have seen this movie before in terms of Republicans fighting Republicans and struggling to push forward Trump's agenda despite having the majorities in both the House and Senate. CNN's Harry Anton is looking into this one for you this morning. So, Harry, what are the numbers around Trump's agenda and how successful they've been in getting it to him?
Yeah, I mean, look, this has been a historically unproductive Congress so far. I mean, it's basically bizarro land compared to where we were during the first Trump administration. So laws signed by a president since 1953 at this point of presidency. Look, the fewest on record through this point, there have only been 5. Get it? 5 laws actually passed by this Congress and then signed into law by the president. Compare that to 2017 when you actually had 35 by this point, which was the most on record. So it's not much of a surprise that this Congress is struggling to actually pass legislation, because the fact is that has been the rule of the game so far, where they just really haven't been able to pass anything. And the fact that they'll actually be able to pass something, well, it's a minor miracle by some accords.
Without Congress, Donald Trump has proven that he's just going to go on without them, which is why where executive orders have come in so much, so often, and so early. What are the numbers around that?
Yeah, so, if Congress has been historically unproductive, Donald Trump has been historically productive. What are we talking about here? Well, if you can't pass a law, why don't you just sign an executive order? That's what Donald Trump's been doing. So Trump executive orders at this point. In 2017, it was just 36. Look at the number now. Holy Toledo, 152. That is the most on record for any president at this point in a presidency, dating back since at least the FDR administration. Indeed, if you had this 152 and Donald Trump didn't sign a single other one, that itself for the entire year would be the most since FDR. And of course, we still have, 6, 7 months to go? So the bottom line is Congress, historically unproductive, but Donald Trump has been historically productive because he's signed all these executive orders. You can do the quick math. I mean, 4 or 5 times as many this term than he had in his first term? Holy cow.
But then where are Republicans in terms of on this, like getting stuff through Congress or not, signing executive orders? It all comes down to trust, like who they actually trust to do it better.
Yeah, you bring in Donald Trump as the closer. He is the Mariano Rivera of the Republican Party, or maybe Jonathan Papelbon if you're a John Berman. You're welcome, Johnny B. Who Republicans trust more if these groups disagree on an issue? Donald Trump or the GOP leaders in Congress? Just 22% say the GOP leaders in Congress. 58%, that's a very large number, say Donald Trump. So the bottom line is, yes, Congress is struggling, but Donald Trump is thriving in terms of getting his agenda enacted, and that is why Donald Trump is going to be pushing these Republicans very hard in order to get this budget passed.
Well, of course, because executive orders, those can change with the signature of the next president.
You got it exactly right.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
President Trump's agenda back on track in the House as key conservative holdouts switch their votes. So here's what happened. Late last night, the sweeping bill squeaks out of the Budget Committee by a single vote. Friday night, 4 conservative members who want deeper cuts voted no, but House Speaker Mike Johnson says a weekend of negotiations eventually got the bill over the first hurdle.
Look, these are men of great conviction. I share their conviction. The government is too large, it does too many things, and it does very little well. And we have to cut spending. And that's what our party stands for. That's what we're going to do in this bill. It will be historic in the scope.
Congressman Chip Roy was among the 4 conservative holdouts who ultimately voted present, allowing the bill to proceed. But after Sunday's vote, he hinted that there may be some uncertainty with what happens next.
I'm not going to talk all that stuff publicly. That's for the Speaker to sort out. We made progress this weekend, but as you'll see in my statement, we didn't get nearly far enough.
Joining me now in the group chat, Evan McMurray Santoro, reporter at Notice, Kevin Frey, Washington correspondent for Spectrum News, New York One, and Sabrina Rodriguez, national political reporter for the Washington Post. All right, Sabrina, I want to start with you because I feel like I have to translate my entire introduction to English, which is they pressured these dudes over the weekend to take a stand on this bill. So what happened, so to speak?
Right now, Trump wants to get this done before Memorial Day weekend. Republicans, Speaker Johnson and Republicans that are supportive of the bill want to get this done. They want to show that there's progress. We're past Trump's first 100 days. They would have liked to get this done ASAP when Trump came into office. So this is sort of one of those steps on the road to getting it done.
Because Trump has done so much with executive orders, right?
Absolutely.
So this is the part where you're actually forcing some things into law, but also financing the rest of all the ideas.
100%. I mean, one key piece here, there's several to this bill. I mean, that's sort of why it's the air quotes big, beautiful bill, is because they're trying to get all the things, all the wish lists that Trump has in his agenda. They want to get it in one bill because they know that they really have in terms of getting the votes together. We see how difficult this is already turning out to be. So they feel like they have one shot this year to get this done. So there's, the money for deportation proceedings to ramp up, immigration enforcement. There is huge changes to energy policy that they're trying to make through this. And a big one that Trump wants is, at the end of the year, a lot of the tax breaks that passed in his 2017 law will expire. So they need to find ways to extend that and to be able to finance that. And that's where you get into some of the tensions on the Hill over how do you pay for it and what does spending look like.
Okay, gentlemen, you jump in here on tensions. Who's fighting it and why?
So you have basically kind of two factions within the Republican caucus, which I know is not necessarily surprising for those who've been covering Washington for a while, but you have the more moderates who come from these districts that, quite frankly, are the majority makers, and they will make sure to tell you that they're the majority makers.
And you cover New York, so I'm often asking you about these moderate New Yorkers.
The New York moderates, also some from Jersey, also some from California, where, for example, the state and local tax deduction is a really big issue for them. SALT, you'll keep hearing the word SALT. At the same time, you have this more conservative faction that wants deeper cuts. So you have one side that wants to protect Medicaid to some extent. They want to boost this tax deduction, which costs more money. So there's more money that they want to spend. And then you have another faction that wants to reduce spending, that wants to make deeper cuts to Medicaid. And so now these two are on a collision course, and we'll see if there's resolution this week. Last night was really just a big procedural step.
I want to play one clip of tape. The ranking member, Brendan Boyle, he's a Democrat on the committee that was involved in this. And he was saying that, I think just because, what does he say? I just mean on the bill that's in front of us, making sure all the members know transparently just what the heck is in this thing. Because obviously it's changing back in the back room by the minute.
Well, this is the normal sort of DC thing, right? These massive bills that get pushed through and people don't read them before they vote on them. This whole process is kind of both the easiest and hardest thing Republicans could do and kind of all they had to do. Before this whole thing started, I talked to a bunch of conservative activists right after Trump was elected, right? What do they want to do legislatively? And a lot of them told me, look, we have to do this one bill. We only have this, we have a very short period of time, cram everything in there because we have this divided caucus, very narrow margins. So the thing is, if we can push this forward by having enough stuff that these people want, we can get this done, as opposed to if we break it up, we'll have a lot of inner scene fights about like other stuff that we don't want to do. So this is sort of their plan, but of course what goes with that plan is how impossible it can be, because any sort of thing that changes or shifts could turn someone off, turn somebody else. Yeah. So really what it comes down to in the end, right, will be Trump coming in and saying, I really want you to do this the way it is. We've seen repeatedly Republicans kind of backing away from some of their own principles to sort of be like, well, we're with MAGA now. We're going to do what Trump says. It's unclear at this point how powerful that will be in this case. But I do think that Trump being back from his foreign trip and here now is sort of what Mike Johnson and the rest of these leadership really want, because they're going to see him say, look, all this fighting amongst you guys is over now. I'm back. We're passing my big bill. We're signing it.
And already it feels like a test of the speaker's leadership, how he's been able to hold things together so far. We're going to talk about this more this week because apparently it goes through another committee and some of the holdouts are on that committee. So we're going to be hearing more from them